And then that started opening doors for me, and I could take a few liberties on the street, you know, and with people who I'm talking to.
Okay.
But it was then at that point when I came back to London, started shooting footage of people on the street, and the child abuse came to the forefront, that I started to disclose to my family the full extent of my family's abuse, because I've got sisters. I've got one sister that was being raped, more or less, from the age of very early ages, like we're talking about 9, 8, 10. You know, and then my brothers, I found that they had been sexually abused in different places. I mean, one of my brothers, he went to, like I say, he went to a boarding school in Guildford, one of the most opulent areas in the country, very, very rich. He was outrageously abused there. My sisters, you know, like I spoke to Ken Livingstone about a place called Shirley Oaks. My sister was abused by the swimming pool man, you know, and even now, the woman who abused me there and used to give me regular beatings with a wooden spoon. I can remember I was so small because she used to get me to peel the potatoes in one of the cottages, as they call them. Her name was Miss Boland, and I believe that she's on her way out now. I think she's got cancer. But I can remember peeling potatoes and standing on a chair, that's how small I was, at the sink. And I would be so terrified, because if I looked round and she saw me and she was only in the next room, she would come and attack me. She would attack me, this woman. And she was in charge of probably about 15 children in this cottage. And she would really attack me. But her favourite thing was to creep up while I was doing the potatoes and hit me on the back of the legs. Bang, 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 as quick as she could and as hard as she could. And I would sort of collapse back, and she'd grab me up and say, get on with it, get on with it. She'd inspect the potatoes. If there was one eye, if I left an eye in a potato, I would get a beating. You know?
All right, Bill, well, let's just come back to the film. So what was the first major film that you've done regarding the child abuse?
Right, well, because Billy and Lily Go to New York, that was a documentary, that was pure documentary, but because we were saying such things that weren't being exposed then about, you know, the royal family and how we are being manipulated, especially now. I mean, come on, you've only got to look at the royal family. They've never been so predominant. You know, they're trying to get the Queen to come forward and all love her. You can't love them. You can't love these people, because they are living on a completely different planet to us. And you'll know all about it.
We'll come on to that. So yeah, back to the film, Bill. So what was the name of the it wasn't Sun, Sea and Satan. That wasn't the first one, was it, or was it?
Yeah, the first serious documentary I made was Sun, Sea and Satan.
Okay.
I'd done news reports before that, you know, and I'd gone to different rallies, etc. But when I went over to the island of Jersey to make Sun, Sea and Satan, that was, and when I'll give you an example. When we went over there, we were staying at the Royal Golf Course, and we were staying in a bungalow on the edge of the Royal Golf Course. Now, there was myself, my camera woman Lily, and a guy called Darren. Okay, we can't give his second name because he was only a kid then. He was only 18 years of age, but he had a brilliant mind and he was great with notes, which is very important, as you know, when you're making documentary films. And he had a lot of street about him, so he's well savvied up. But Lily and I, we had to go over there first, and then he was to follow us out for security reasons, and he was staying in a different place. Even though we all wound up in the same place. But when you get off the plane at Jersey, you will see plaques everywhere from different lodges, different Masonic lodges, come and have lunch with us, come and do this with us, come and do that with us. All right, so it's so predominant. Right. When we went out there, Lily said to me one day, she said, "Have you been in my room, Bill?" And I said, "No." She said, "Well, some of my stuff's been moved." I said, "What do you mean it's been moved?" She said, "Well, my perfumes and things like that, it's just been moved in my bag. It looks like something's been going down my bag." So I got Darren, and I said, "Darren, you ever been in?" He said, "No, never been in a room," because he wasn't even staying with us at the time. So what I'd done, in the wedge of the door, as you close the door, the front door, the front room door for the lounge and to all the bedrooms, we started wedging a matchstick in, very low down. So if you open that door, that matchstick was on the floor. Now, 3 occasions we went back after shooting footage and being followed on Jersey, and the matchsticks had gone. Now, we had requested no cleaners. We were guaranteed that no one would go into that bungalow because of we had sensitive equipment in there, etc. So that was part of the deal when we went there. And I went and asked the guy who owned it. I said, "Has anyone been in there?" And he said, "No, why?" I said, "Well, you know, we've had a couple of things, you know, maybe we've misplaced them and we thought they'd gone missing. I said, and my driving licence has disappeared. So he said, no, I'm sorry, I can't help you, but I can assure you that no one's been in there. And it was, I got a phone call from my sister. She was going to come out there. And she said, Billy, I can't come out there. She was crying. She said, I've had a letter from the House of Commons, and I want you to see it. And I said, can you read it to me? She said, no, I haven't got it with me at the moment. She said, and I don't want to read it over the phone. So I said, okay. I said, look, don't worry, darling. I calmed her down. I said, we'll be home soon. I said, I sent Maria, I phoned England, and I said to Maria, my wife and producer, I said, will you go around and see Diana, etc., and calm her down. When we came back, and we edited the film, it was released, as I say, to all the major broadcasting companies.
Right.
And within 2 weeks, my sister was found dead in her apartment.
So what did the letter say that she got from the government then?
She didn't say. She didn't want to say on the phone.
All right. And so you've never seen that letter?
No, I've never seen that now.
All right. Okay. And that was Sun Seeing Satan. And can people watch that online?
Yeah, I mean, all of our work, you know, people can go.
Just give the domain name, Bill, so where people can watch all of these films.
Just go into www.pimsfilms.com and you'll see all our work up. And we put all our work up for free because when the distribution companies collapsed, and when you're trying to sell DVDs and they're not selling because of the recession, and you've got important work and information like we've got, and you've got a background like I've got, it's not about the money, as the song says. It does not matter about the money. So I said to everyone at PMS Films, listen, we've just got to put them up for free, because it is imperative that this information gets out. So that is how we survive. We survive from donations, from you know, wonderful sort of empathetic supporters, you know, and we still do sell a few DVDs because people, if they watch our work online, sometimes it buffs, and so if you want to watch it, I'd like to say that to you. If you want to watch it, we do sell the DVDs, you know, and all that money goes back in to our work.
Sure. Now I just want to ask you: have you got any inkling as to what might have been in that letter that she was referring to on the phone?
No, I haven't. I haven't got any inkling at all what it was about. But she was terrified.
But she was financing you to make that film?
Yeah, well, yeah.
So she's getting a letter from the government and you're making a film in Jersey about child abuse?
And she's got a letter off the government, yeah.
Right.
Like I say, her cause of death was unascertained, and you can also, if you go into PMS Films and look on the blog, you will see the full timeline of what happened, you know, around my sister.
In that particular film, you come across a house, if I'm getting this right, where there's a bust of a young child in there, and it's performing an obscene act. So it's like a grotesque statue that you get very
oral sex.
Yeah, you get
on a penis.
Yeah. So you got in the film. It's obviously completely freaking you out, and you sort of
lose it.
Yeah, a little bit. You lose it, and you drive away, and you're getting all upset and everything. And this isn't a criticism, because obviously it's affecting it. Me,
I'm not taking it as a criticism. Don't worry about it.
I would have just knocked on the door and shoved the camera in the face of whoever answered the door and say, "What's that doing there? Can you explain that?"
Yeah, but
it's so affecting you.
Yeah, but would you have done that? Would you have done that, Rich, if you'd done the matchstick trick?
Yeah.
If you've got the phone call from your sister and the strange persona on the island, and when you see statues like that, and they're only, we timed it in the vehicle at 30 miles an hour, it was 2 minutes and 20 seconds from Haute de la Garenne. 2 paedophilic statues, there was 2 of them there, and there was also a chimpanzee there as well, and chimpanzee is black magic.
Right.
Yeah, the dark forces, like the Queen was talking about. So I had been there when we discovered that 4 days. I was out there for 2 weeks. Now, to sort of start exposing things at that point was very, very dangerous. And when you see the film, people, you'll see the fear in the residents, you know, that inhabit Jersey and how frightened they are to talk about Haute de la Garenne.
What about submitting? Because if you were to get that letter, that would tell you a lot, surely.
Well, I don't know where that letter is.
Right. Have you tried a freedom of information request? I know it sounds probably.
Well, when I came back and I found out, you know, after I found out that my sister was dead, I was absolutely devastated. And when I got back to England, I received a phone call from my sister, and I said to her, I was in an editing suite, and it was very late. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. in Whitstable in Kent, and she phoned me, and she was in a bit of a state, and she had a couple of people there, and I can't say their names at the moment, but I said to her, "What's your security?" And she said to me, "I can't guarantee my security unless you get your arse back here."
Right.
So I said, "I'll be back tomorrow."
Right.
But she was dead.
Right. So you don't know of anyone that she might have shown that letter to? I know these are probably obvious.
I know we've already looked at all that,
yeah,
but we don't know. But we do have people that we're looking closely at. You know, there was a woman involved with her. Right. And then it found out that this woman was supposed to be a friend, and then we found out that she was working for my sister's solicitors, because my solicitor had a case running for 7 years about her abuse, because my other brothers and some of my other brothers and sisters have taken, you know, the Home Office to court and received compensation.
Right.
But
all right, Bill, we'll go for another break, and we'll be talking more about some of Bill Maloney's films after this. Welcome back. I'm talking to filmmaker Bill Maloney, who has been exposing institutional child abuse. We were talking about your film Sun, Sea and Satan, and about the mysterious death of your sister, who was financing the film. Yeah. Now, the next film, was that the Medimsley Heroes film? Or?
Yeah, Adam Rickwood and the Medimsley Heroes.
Now, Adam Rickwood is someone who died in like a young offenders home. Yeah. Well, and he was supposed to have hung himself, but none of his family believed that he hung himself, and there seems to be the security camera wasn't working that would have overseen that, etc., etc. So there seems to be suspicion over.
I'll just give you a short synopsis of it. Yeah. Adam Rickwood was found hanging in his cell. He had a broken nose and he had a broken wrist in a young offenders institution called Hassockfield. But Hassockfield was originally Medimsley.
Right.
So what we done, Medimsley, when it was Medimsley, and we're going back quite a way now, you know, going back to like 60s, 70s, 80s. When it was Medimsley, the guys who were there are now around about my age, or sort of 10 years younger than me, so they're sort of 47s and 45s. And there was a paedophile called Neville Husband, and he was in charge of the kitchens, and he was raping the young offenders. There was also the governor at the time, his name was James Miller Reid. When the investigation into Medimsley started, James Miller Reid was found dead in Canterbury. Don't know how he died, he was found dead. And the Governor General of prisons and at the time, prisons and young offenders institutions was Martin Neri. Martin Neri, after that, became the head of Dr. Bernardo's, and he's recently retired. Strangely, he retired after Adam Rickwood and the Medimsley Heroes came out.
So you think he was kind of moved to the side?
Absolutely.
And these other two guys who were involved in the abuse directly died?
Yes.
You don't know how?
Yes. Well, Neville Husband died about 3 or 4 months after he was released from prison, and they were taking the kids, the young offenders, they were taking them out of the young offenders.
So your film that exposed all of this, right, okay, has obviously created waves, we'll put it that way, putting the truth out about what's happened. Now, did that get mentioned in Parliament by David Cameron?
Yeah, but it did.
Now, for me,
it wasn't the film, because what it was a member of Parliament who saw the film, Adam Rickwood. I just want to reiterate, Adam Rickwood, he was in Hassockfield, which was originally Medimsley. So Adam Rickwood brings it up to date and tells us that it is still going on now.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
And what was David Cameron's comment on the film?
David Cameron, I don't know whether David Cameron's seen the film, but there was a member of Parliament who had seen the film, and he asked the question to David Cameron, what are we doing about the Medimsley guys?
Now.
Now. Because they sued the Home Office now. £3 million was allocated to the Medimsley case. There was 12 victims of Medimsley that had come forward at the time. Out of that £3 million, £500,000 went to the victims. They wound up with between 50 and 40 grand each, right? But the institution, took 2.5, took 2.5 million of the 3 million.
Right.
So their solicitor, the Medemsley Heroes solicitor, his name is David Greenwood, and it was 2 weeks ago. There was a major article in the national papers, I believe it was in the Daily Mail, the Mail on Sunday, saying that he has been trawling for victims, and he's been representing them, and he has made his company. They're called what's the name of the company? I think I forget the name of the solicitors, but anyway, that he works for. But David Greenwood, they have had millions and millions out of these guys, and now I believe that these guys are trying to take legal action to get some of that money back. But more victims have come forward, you know, so...
So, did Cameron, what was, because I haven't seen that actual comment.
Right, well, so what it was David Cameron, he was sitting, before he was Prime Minister, he sat on the select committee that decided what Cameron, what compensation and how the guys were going to be treated in the courts. And at the time, when he was on the select committee, Jack Straw was the Home Secretary. Now, Jack Straw also pushed it through about 2 or 3 years ago that any child in the care system is not allowed, that has been abused, is not allowed to put that information into the public domain to protect the child. He says, Jack Straw. But Jack Straw was given the job of overhauling the sex offenders register when his own brother William was on it for 2 counts. And one of them was a 14-year-old girl, and violence was involved. Now, all he got was a £250 fine and £750 court costs. So he had, as far as I'm concerned, an interest because his own brother was on it. And you know, then we could go back to the Islington inquiry, all the different people that were living in Islington, etc. You know.
Okay, all right. Well, let's just try and broaden this a little bit, because it's not really something that I know a great deal about this issue. But in terms of let's say history, like throughout history, going back hundreds, even thousands of years. Is that anything that you've looked into? Is this something which is throughout history? Would you?
Well, you see, paedophiles. There are a lot of paedophiles. You know, I was told, I was given some information by a police detective, and then I looked it up, and I found it on other blogs and other websites that apparently 1 person in 4 has a paedophilic tendency.
Okay, well that's.
But you've also got the one person in 4 has a paedophilic tendency. Now, they don't all put that into operation. They don't all do it. Some of them like control it. But one thing I would like to say is there is no cure for paedophilia at this moment in time.
Now, what about other countries? Is it just rife throughout every culture in the world?
Every single country. You will not find anywhere on this planet where paedophilia is not very, very strong. But
so then you would take from that, then it's something inherent in the human makeup, then, would you say?
Well, we were told, there was information about 5 years ago that came out, you know, when they started looking into the genetics, that it was genetic.
Right. Now,
we could find that gene.
Yeah, okay.
But now, that quietened down, so we stopped hearing about that, it was genetic.
Because it's, when you look at that Medemsley Hero films, and all of the other sort of homes where this abuse sort of crops up, to me, it's almost like you've got a patio outside, and if you leave it alone, you're going to get a weed there and a weed there and a weed there, and the weeds are going to start popping up if you don't control it. It's almost like that with this, that I feel it's so sort of across the board.
Yeah,
but that it will, anywhere where there's children that isn't properly checked and policed, they'll crop up there.
Yeah.
Which is.
But the point is, with the kids that have been abused, especially in institutional paedophilia, you know, like incestuous paedophilia is completely different. But you still have Stockholm's syndrome. You know, Stockholm syndrome is where the victim believes that the perpetrator is a good friend. Now you get Stockholm syndrome in all kind of paedophilia. You know, whether it's incestuous, institutional, or just guys on the street. They might, you know, they procure.
Now, I interviewed a chap called Neil Saunders, who studies